You want to be here for the rest of the class? What? Why would you need to? Come straight back. Bring a note. Okay, that you signed. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have attention, please. All quiet, please. Thank you. All right. Go ahead, take out your notes. We're going to finish up this unit, and then we will get to the review for the test, which is going to take place on Thursday. Okay?
I guess I'm fine.
Okay. All right. And just a reminder, obviously you guys know after the break, I'm going through this just because now I know. I actually asked, and now I know. I will see you after the break on B days. Don't interrupt, please. Wednesdays and Fridays. Got clarification as far as like when they were. It's not like I can debate this or so forth. I'm telling you that right after lunch, third period on B days, you'll have government. Okay? And the other, my government classes is going to be fourth period on A days. All right? That's what we got written down. Question?
So is it the last 4 periods or 2 days?
It doesn't line up automatically.
Oh, wait, no.
The current thing doesn't line up automatically with what is going to be taking place after the break. So you'll just have to find out, ask all your various different teachers and so forth, or I think probably you'll be getting an email communicating as to what you're going to be going to each of your different classes. A day is Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you'll have 4 classes. Okay? You're on a blue day right now. It's all different. It's all different, and it'll be in place for the last 10. I will see you on Wednesdays and Fridays right after lunch.
I can't wait to see you every day.
Well, you come by and say hi, okay? Thanks, Michael. You come by and say hi. You guys make a point of it. And when you come by and say hi, I will say I see you every day. Although one thing is, I'll have to tell, because one of the things, hang on just a sec, let me finish this part. Actually, I don't think it comes up so much in here, but do be aware of this. Like, there's a lot of kind of like teacher discretion as far as a number of things, like food in class. I've usually been okay with that just because it's as long as it's not disruptive and so forth. But the concern is with more people in, and you have to take your mask off for the food and so forth, so the directive has come from the administration, no food in the class. You can still have your beverage, so remove and then put it right back and so forth, right? And you guys don't seem to have any issues for the most part, although I'm looking over at one student right now. We're also to remind people to make sure you wear your masks properly with your nose all covered up. I know, it's like, yeah. I know, I've got one senior, and he's kind of like, he's usually got it parked right underneath his nose. It's really not fair because he's got a lovely nose and so forth. But Michael, yes, you'll have to make sure to have your nose and your like mouth and so forth all covered. Not the face or not the eyeballs or the forehead. Very good. I guess your eyes breathe, but you know. And then, okay, Michael. Yes, we're wasting time right now, and some of the people are like, wow, time wasted on a day that we do review means less questions, which means that I have less of an insight into the actual questions that are coming up. The other thing is, and it doesn't apply here so much, some of you guys have come in when it's cold, but apparently after the break, the teacher classrooms, and I let people come in here, it's no big deal, but apparently those are out of bounds too. So there'll be more tables and picnic things and so forth for you guys outside as well as in the cafeteria. Vera's just like so looking forward to it. It's like she's gonna like, I'm counting down the days till summer break, which starts in July. Did you know that? No, it's you're like, duh. I'm sorry. It was gonna be like, ah! You're driving me nuts, Mr. Hanson. June 10th. Oh, and the last 2 days of school, I'm sure half days, because those are exams. Oh yeah, no, I know. Yeah, because we started the school year like about 3 weeks. So, yeah, it is about 2-ish weeks. Okay, Trey, did you have a question?
I had many, but I forgot all of them.
Okay, well, if you remember. Okay, I think I covered. All right, let's get to the last part of the unit. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, and then we'll get into the review. Yes. Okay? We're looking through all the various different amendments, and by the way, here we go. Yeah, we actually got through all of these ones, I believe, with you guys. 7B, yeah, we're up to the 7th Amendment. You guys have the handout? Somebody was in one of the classes was asking, what are we using for like a study review? The 2-page handout thing that you've got right there, which is very, very helpful. In fact, that's really clever. You got it like all tucked in. No, you got it tucked in, but you got it ready to go. Okay. All right, so we did these rights, right? The 6th Amendment rights, which cover all kinds of various different components having to do with trials. And we'll get back to all of these rights when we get into our next unit, the civil rights unit and the courts. The 7th Amendment is always quite interesting, not too controversial, and it's also very small. Civil jury trial right. You're like, civil as opposed to what? Criminal? Next semester you'll learn the difference. Basically it boils down to this. If I commit a crime against you, I could be prosecuted in a criminal trial. And if I lose, I could go to jail. If I accidentally bump into you because I'm not being very careful, it's not necessarily a crime, but you could sue me for the damage that I had done, and that could be dealt with in a civil trial. Okay? Usually the only thing that could happen as a result of a civil trial if you lose is you lose some money to the person who's suing you. That's an example of a civil trial. So the 7th Amendment says it'll be a jury, as opposed to what? Having the judge decide what the outcome is? Sure, that would be another alternative, but you have a right to have a jury trial there. Just like in the 6th Amendment, you have a right to have a jury trial in a criminal case. So, very cool. Talk about jury trials more in our next unit. 8th Amendment. Okay? 8th Amendment, when you're trying to, because I've got on the test, I've got a bunch of matching sections and so forth. Let me see, I've got like 20 matching. I've got a whole bunch of multiple choice ones. Only 10 true false, so most of them are like multiple choice or some kind of a matching thing. And it's really helpful to know like what are some of the things like, got 2 fingers, 2nd Amendment. What does that look like? A gun. It's a pretty stupid looking gun, but that might help remember that it is the right to bear arms. So 8th Amendment has a couple of different parts to it. One of them is cruel or unusual punishment. The government cannot carry out cruel or unusual punishment, like cut your thumbs off. As a sentence. Oh, fun. Yeah, there you go. As opposed to like in some countries, at some times, like if you stole something, cut your arm off. It's part of the like Islamic law tradition and so forth. So yeah, we'll be talking when we get into more detail on the 8th Amendment. We'll look at such questions as capital punishment. You can see from the depiction here having to do with the death penalty. By the way, how many of you guys think that the electric chair is a legal option under the current choice? No? You don't think so?
Well, how long does it take to kill them?
It could be pretty painful and so forth, hence cruel. Supreme Court has said, no, we're not going to allow for electrocution. Okay?
Would they like burn it now?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, although there are some, so like lethal injection is going to be one that is going to be allowed as long as it follows things so it's not cruel or unusual. According to, who gets the final word? If a case is brought to it. What about no? What is the highest court to determine interpreting what the Constitution means? Exactly, the Supreme Court. Okay? The other part of the 8th Amendment, it's kind of like, does that really have to do with cruel and unusual punishment? Well, at least it has to do somewhat with crime. It has to do with bail. And this is actually an interesting issue that's been popping up. It's like if somebody is in trouble, they're charged with a crime, they're arrested and so forth, do they just get to go home? Or do they have to post some money, as in a bond, to make a promise that they're going to show up in court by the time of the trial and other kinds of things? Well, the 8th Amendment says that the amount of money that would have to be paid to the court in the form of a promise can't be too high. Exactly. And that's all going to depend on the facts of the case and the person and all kinds of different circumstances. Once upon a time, long before you were born, when I was a deputy prosecutor, one of the things I would do is argue bail amounts with the judge, and the defense attorney would be arguing it for being lower, and I would argue for a little bit being higher, and the judge would sort of come in there somewhere in between. Okay? Part of the Eighth Amendment. Questions so far? Pretty straightforward. All right. The Ninth Amendment is kind of interesting. We'll spend a lot more time on this one, but this is sort of one of those, well, it's like the 10th Amendment. Well, if I forgot to mention anything, then I haven't given it away. It says right here, just in case we forgot to list a right of the people, this amendment says that the people shall have all the rights not specifically given to the government. We'll see, for example, when that comes up, like the right to travel freely in the United States and not be stopped by the government. Is that written down specifically? No. Do people have it back then? Yeah. So when somebody goes, hey, wait a minute, you can't do that. The government's like, well, it's not written down in the Constitution. You're like, yeah, it's not written down in the Constitution. Wait a minute. The Ninth Amendment. Key thing about the Ninth, if you can prove that it actually existed back at the time of the Constitution, so you have to bring a little historical evidence. If you can prove it, you got it. Cool. So like the right to be able to marry another adult. That was not specifically mentioned in the Constitution. Some people are going to go, well, they were able to do it at the time of the Constitution. Well, who was able to do it? Two adults? Yeah. Of the same gender? No. So that part's not going to fit under the Ninth Amendment. But if they were a male and a female, two adults, then they would say, yeah, we've got that right. Okay? We'll focus more on that in our next unit. We'll talk about that. A lot of states said it was illegal, and in fact, there was a case that went to the Supreme Court dealing with a Virginia law that said you couldn't have interracial marriage. That was challenged in like 1970, and it wasn't until that time that the Supreme Court looked and said, yeah, state, you can't prevent people from getting married just because they have different color skin. Are you kidding me? So yeah, you're right. That was part of the thing. So we'll talk about that. That's coming up in our next unit as well. 13th Amendment. Michael, who do you suppose was able to become free as a result of the 13th Amendment? I'll give you a clue. Many of these people were held in the South. Their skin was darker. Exactly. This is the end of slavery. This is the end of slavery. Yeah. This is during the time of Abraham Lincoln. Very good. The 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment, you can write this down because we're about to cover all three of them. The 13th, 14th, and 15th happened around about the same time, obviously in that order, and came out of the result of the Civil War. 13th gets rid of slavery. Got that? Okay. 14th is going to be fascinating. 14th Amendment says, among other things, that people have equal protection under the law. So actually, you've got a couple bullet points there. Equal protection under the law, and then there's also due process. You're like, didn't we do due process before? Wasn't that the 5th? Yeah, here we go, due process, 5th Amendment. Well, how can the 14th Amendment be the due process amendment if the 5th Amendment already is the due process amendment? The 5th Amendment says the government can't take away your life or liberty or property without some kind of a court hearing. Well, that's what the 14th Amendment says. So what's the difference? Oh, there's a big difference. The 5th Amendment says the federal government, that is the national government, can't do that. The 14th Amendment says states can't do that. Oh, you mean state governments weren't bound by these rights already? Well, as we'll see, pretty much every right that you have under the federal government can't take away your right to bear arms, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of these ones are going to be so-called incorporated. States can't take them away from you either. Okay? Equal protection. Oh, we're going to have some fun with that one. Equal protection under the law. The gist was we need to make sure that freed African Americans in the South are going to have equal protection in the law so that later maybe those state governments don't try and take it away. So they've got a right. They're going to be protected. Yahoo! Will that actually afford a lot of protection as time goes through? No. When we look at the history of it, it's not going to be too long thereafter. We covered this a little bit at the end of last year in the 9th grade during Reconstruction, that whites are going to end up being in charge again in the Deep South. And they're going to look around and go, well, we can't enslave these African Americans in our community, but we can make all kinds of laws that will provide restrictions. Looks like it might even be a violation of the 14th Amendment. But as we'll see when we get into the details of it, the Supreme Court is not going to enforce it. So, for example, in the Deep South, if they say, okay, we're going to take black kids and white kids and we're going to put them in separate, segregated schools. Can we do that? We'll see that the Supreme Court 100 years ago will say, sure, that's fine. But 70 years ago, they're going to go, no, I think we're done with that. We're going to move on. This is going to be the amendment, and you can make a little note of this. This is going to be the amendment ultimately that's going to be relied upon for such things as the Supreme Court looking around and going, equal protection, I think that same-sex couples have a right to get married under the Constitution, 14th Amendment. So depending on how the Supreme Court interprets something, it can be very, very, very important. Okay? Again, we'll spend more time on that one, but 14th Amendment is a huge, huge area of rights in the United States Constitution. How about 15th Amendment? Oh, look, we have a picture from way back when of African Americans being able to vote. There you go, 15th Amendment. It says African Americans are going to be able to vote. They've got a constitutional right. Which is going to be really weird because by the time folks like Martin Luther King come along in the 50s and 60s, one of the things they're going to be saying is African Americans have not been able to vote. What the heck is going on there? The 15th Amendment says African Americans can vote. And yet, if you get into the 1930s and 40s and 50s, African Americans, particularly in the Deep South, are not going to be able to vote. It's going to be a problem, in spite of the fact that they have a constitutional right under the 15th Amendment. We're going to have to take a closer look at that and get that sorted out, because that's a mess. It's actually going to even require further laws and a constitutional amendment and all kinds of changes of thinking in order to get real, true voting rights and equal rights for African Americans in this country. Okay? Questions about the 15th Amendment? You guys are like, just keep going, huh? It's like, don't slow me down. You get it? Okay. Is the 19th Amendment very important? Anna, is the 19th Amendment very important?
No.
Really, why would you say so? Is that important in this country?
No.
Trey. Maybe we should change the way things go in this country and not let people who have really silly ideas vote. Do women have a lot to contribute politically in this country? Yeah, I love this one. Women bring all voters into the world. Let women vote. Idaho, I want to say, was the 4th state in the country to change its laws to allow women to vote in elections. And it's not going to be until right after, you can write this down, right after World War I. Raise your hand if you can tell me, what did women do during World War I when the men were off fighting in Europe? Oh, thank you very much. Write that down. They were working. They were working in the factory so that the men could get up and go and fight with the guns produced by women in the factories, with the bullets produced by the women in the factories, with the ammunition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so that really crystallized and brought it to a conclusion that, yeah, women have the mental capacity equal to, sometimes superior to, you're proving your point, to participate in the politics of this country. And when will a woman be added to the list of people who are presidents of the United States? Raise your hand if you believe that is going to occur in your lifetime. And I'm the old person, okay? Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But actually, that is the closest we've ever been, because we have our first female vice president, and so literally they are supposedly the quote-unquote a heartbeat away from the presidency. I'm not surprised, because women have not had the vote nationwide, but only for 100 years. And even in Idaho, it's only been like 120 or so years. So it hasn't been that long. And maybe it's because of antiquated ideas that, I don't know, other things women can do that men can't do? Okay, have babies. All right, well, there's that part. So far, I don't know. If guys volunteer to have a baby if there's a technological, like scientific medical breakthrough?
I can do it.
Okay, there you go. Sign up. I'm here at the hospital. I'm here for this. Anyway, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, equal opportunities and so forth, very, very big thing. Okay? Right for women to have to vote. And actually, if you look very carefully at the words, it says, the right to vote shall not be denied on the basis of sex. So actually, if women in this country, and there's a little bit more women than there are men, did you know that?
What?
Yeah, because maybe, I don't know what it is, maybe guys make stupid decisions to get themselves killed, but there is a slightly larger number of women in this country than men. And if women ever decide that men are stupid and shouldn't be entrusted with the right to vote, and just like say, okay, we're going to like take away the right to vote from the men, get enough votes in Congress, let me see, electing people to Congress, all you need to win to get a Senate seat or a House seat is a simple majority. So if women all stick together, then the men get voted out of the House, voted out of the Senate, voted out of the state legislatures. What they would do, have you figured this out? One of the first things they would do, ironically, is repeal the 19th Amendment. Because once you repeal the 19th Amendment, then women in this country could put a law prohibiting men from voting. If they think that men are stupid and shouldn't participate in politics and voting and things like that. You'd actually need, you need to have because you got to get that 51%, otherwise it's not going to happen. So, yes, I think historically you can say the 19th Amendment allows women to vote, but if we didn't have the 19th Amendment, could women still vote? I think so. Yes. I think so, because I don't think anyone's going to be trying to take away anyone's voting rights on the basis of gender. Let's hope not. 24th Amendment, we're going to be looking at this as well. 24th Amendment is a number of various different things to help African Americans to be able to vote. Write this down. It abolishes poll taxes, which is really kind of weird. You mean, in order to vote, I have to pay a tax? Wow. Well, everyone had to pay the tax, except in the places that had it, it worked this way. The whites who were in charge, they either didn't charge the whites, or if the blacks were trying to pay the poll tax, they're like, oh, we're not open for business. So don't even think about it. So it was a way that was used, I'll elaborate more, but it was a way that was used to prevent African Americans from voting. And so we just got rid of it. 24th Amendment, just get rid of it. How much money do you have to pay in order to actually vote? Nothing. And in fact, some communities where there's been so much emphasis in switching to mail-in voting, some communities are going, let's just not even make them have to put a postage stamp on the envelope when they mail in their ballots. My father participated in the 26th Amendment. This was taking place actually around the time of the Vietnam War. Most states at that time, you had to be like 21 years of age to vote, which is a little bit older than you had to be if you were a young man to be drafted to go fight in the Vietnam War. Guess how old you had to be fighting in the Vietnam War? 18, yeah. So there you go. Old enough to fight, old enough to vote. Bam! And my dad listened to and read a lot of the letters coming into him because he was deciding whether or not he was going to vote in favor of it. I think it was when he was in Congress, although it might have been at the time when he was in the legislature. Either way, he looked and there were a lot of older people going, young people are stupid. They're immature. You guys don't look like an immature group. You guys could probably handle the right to vote at this age, right? Jana, how old are you? Are you smart enough to figure out how to vote in this country? You're not too far off. And in fact, I would say that some people actually kick in a sensible amount of maturity and knowledge and know-how to be voting at age 16. Nevertheless, is something magic going to happen by the time you turn 21? Well, let's put it this way. So many of the other rights that people had that made them an adult were 18. And so it prevailed. My dad voted for it, in spite of the fact that a lot of older adults said, oh, that's just too young. He voted for it. Enough people did vote for it. It's the 26th Amendment. It's part of the Constitution.
I have two questions.
Yes.
But it's basically the motto was if you could fight, you could vote. But there were people that were under 18 that fought.
No, not legally in the military. Not at that time. No. I mean, if you go back in history, like the Civil War, there are some people who lied about their age to get into the war. Of course, go back to Mulan. There's some people that lied about their gender and so forth in order to fight. And there were women that fought in this country as well, lying, concealing their actual gender identification in order to actually fight for the side that they wanted to.
So what if like I turned 18 and I still look like this and they denied me even though I was 18?
Show them a birth certificate. There's records that will follow you around.
I don't like have mine.
Yeah, well, they exist somewhere. We actually talked about the 16th Amendment. I love this one. Oh, you think the 16th Amendment was never ratified? I'm sure you're going to look lovely in an orange jumpsuit. 16th Amendment basically changed the rule that prohibited direct taxes. Now we can do direct taxes, income taxes. And so if you don't pay your income taxes, that's a violation of federal law, so don't do it. Got it? 16th Amendment, we covered that one before. We covered the 17th Amendment when we were talking about how somebody becomes a senator. This is interesting. I like this chart because it shows the people choose presidential electors who choose the president, who participates in choosing the Supreme Court. The people choose the House of Representatives. The people choose the state legislatures who used to pick the U.S. senators. But now, as a result of the 17th Amendment, the people pick the U.S. Senate. Direct election of U.S. senators. Fair enough? 18th Amendment, Prohibition. This is the one where the country was looking around and too many people are drinking way too much alcohol. So we prohibited alcoholic beverages being consumed, produced, manufactured, distributed, and so forth and so on. How did that work out in our country? Well, after a short period of time, we got rid of Prohibition. And actually, it was interesting. The Oregon Brewers Festival in 2008 celebrated the 21st Amendment as part of their brewing beer thing and so forth. 21st Amendment at the end of the 30s, or in the 30s, got rid of Prohibition, left it up to the states and localities as to what their alcoholic rules were going to be.
So they literally like banned all alcohol? Wait, how long did that last?
Look at the handout, I can tell you. Let's see. 18th Amendment went into effect 1919, and it was repealed 1933, so 14 years. There you go. So you guys have covered the 20s. Did you already in English? Great Gatsby? That was 10th grade, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was that era of Prohibition and so forth, the speakeasies. And
Wasn't that the bootleggers?
yep, exactly. Bootleggers are involved in organized crime. Selling alcohol when it was illegal. Very good. Okay. 27th Amendment, we covered this as well. No big deal here. Basically says you can't have an increase in the pay for the senators, representatives, until after the next election for the House of Representatives. So it delays it, but no more than 2 years. Okay? Not the most exciting amendment to the Constitution, but it is a little bit of a delay. Questions? Y'all good? Should we do some review? Okay. All right. There's like, could we just like cancel the test? It's like, that's what I really want for Christmas. Right. Well, Vera, do you want to go first, or do you want somebody else to go first? Okay, who? Because we've got 16 minutes to do this, so let's get through as many questions as we can. I've got 20 matching. I've got another 20 multiple choice, so there's 3 choices there, and then the rest are, oh, and I got another kind of funky matching section, lining up the court, the House of Representatives, the President, the Senate, and the Vice President, and so you need to know certain things about those. Trey, all right, Trey, let's ask you this question. Give me the name of the right that gives you the right to free speech. Free speech.
Yes, the first.
Yep, very good. Trey, who goes?
Oh, yeah, Michael.
Michael, give me the concept that you cannot have life, liberty, or property taken away without a trial. It's in the Fifth Amendment as well as the 14th Amendment. Fifth Amendment to the federal government, 14th Amendment to the state governments. Do you know? Everybody else, remember, this is what you do. You put your hand up if you're like, I do know that. And then he can process in his own mind whether or not he's got the answer. And if he doesn't have the answer, he can call on you, Ava, because you got my goofy clues. Due process. There you go. Due process. All right, Michael, who goes? Who goes next? You again? Okay, you're calling yourself. All right, fair enough. Give me the name of the concept that if a person can't pay their bills, then they're not going to lose everything. They're not going to be thrown in jail. Okay? Congress sets up rules to allow for this process. So that you can pay off your debt without completely losing everything. You declare something. I think there's an episode in The Office where Michael Scott, you've seen that? I declare bankruptcy. You actually have to do it through a court with papers and so forth. But if you're Michael Scott and you want to do that, that's fine too. Michael, who goes next?
You.
Bounces off me. Hits Noah. Noah, give me the name of the... It's not allowed for in the Constitution. The government can't just pass a law saying that you are guilty. No, it's not the number. What is the concept called? Congress cannot pass this type of legislation. Hint, hint. They cannot pass this type of bill. Bill of... No, it's not Bill of Rights. Trey knows. It's not the writ of habeas corpus. Bill of... It does start with an A. Eh?
Bill of Amendment.
Oh, you're going to need to know this. 48 hours. Raise your hand as soon as you found this one. Attender. Bill of Attainder. Oh my gosh. Noah, who goes next? All right, fair enough. Give me the name of what happens. Congress passes a bill, then they adjourn. The president's got the bill on his or her desk. Doesn't do anything to it. It ends up being dead because of the, what is referred to not as a regular veto, but it's almost like he folds it up and he sticks it in part of his clothing. Pocket veto, very good. Okay, who goes next? Okay, Janet, give me the name of this. This is, Congress establishes these are the rules whereby somebody who is not a U.S. citizen becomes a U.S. citizen. What's it called? Naturalization, very good. Who goes next? Okay, Anna, give me the name of this concept in the Constitution whereby states have to pretty much follow the records, like marriage records, divorce records of other states. Give me the full name of that process. I have faith she's going to find it if she looks long enough in her notes. And I will give her full credit if she actually does find it. Now you can call on Ava because she seems to know it as well. Full faith and credit clause. Okay? All right. And who goes? Okay, Vera, give me the name of this concept. This is kind of a loosey-goosey sort of thing we saw early in the Constitution, also known as the Elastic Clause, where Congress can pass laws that enable it to carry out other powers. No, it's, if in your handout, it would be near the last bullet point on Section 8. Also known as the Elastic Clause. What is the proper name of the Elastic Clause? And it is necessary that you know the full name of the Elastic Clause. Necessary and proper. Yeah, so it's the last bullet point on Section 8 in that first section of page 2. Okay, Vera, who goes? Okay, Ava. A number. I need a number. Members of the House of Representatives.
Oh,
Hmm? More than that. Oh, we got some hands up. This is pretty good.
isn't there like 326?
More than that. Less than that.
455.
Lower than that.
400.
270,
My God.
280.
One less.
405.
435. Wow. 436. Yeah, anyway. All right, here it goes. Noah. President vetoes a bill. Goes to the House, goes to the Senate. They can override if they get what fraction? Correct. Good. All right, now who goes? Who is the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives? What is her name? Please give me her name. It does start with a P. You can call somebody that got their hands up.
Jana.
Anna. It's okay. He's thrown off because he's thinking, yes, go ahead. Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi. Okay, who goes next? Trey, give me the names of all three presidents of the United States who have been impeached.
Andrew Johnson, Richard Nixon.
Nope.
Oh, wait, no, he didn't. Oh, yeah, Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, and then
Donald Trump. Okay? Yeah, Nixon was not impeached. He was in the process of going that way, but then he resigned. Okay, Trey, who goes? Bounces off her, hits you. Ha. How many electoral votes do you need to have at a minimum in order to be elected President of the United States? Hang on just a sec.
Isn't that like 250?
No, higher.
Oh,
270.
278.
270 to win. Okay, question.
So, when Bill or Nixon was being impeached, he quit, right?
Yes, correct.
So why didn't they keep impeaching him just like Donald Trump?
I think that they figured that that's a good question. I think they figured he probably wasn't going to run for office again. So it was, what was done was done. So that's a good question though, but that was my sense. Okay, Trey, who goes next?
May I ask a question?
Quickly, because we're doing a review.
Hamilton trivia since it's related.
No, we need to do test. How many of you guys want Hamilton trivia? Nope. Okay, test questions. All right, there we go. You're outvoted. Trey, who goes? Come on, chop. Jana, give me the name, House or Senate, of who confirms treaties that are made by the president. Very good. The Senate. Okay, who goes next? Noah, what article describes the judicial branch?
Article
3. Okay. 2 is the executive branch. 1 is the legislative. Okay. Who goes next? Okay. Give me the names of both United States senators from Idaho. That is right. And the other one is? And don't go, oh, shoot, I don't know, because that's...
It was,
Okay, you can call on somebody. Oh, my gosh! Crapo. Yes, Mike Crapo. Okay, yes, who goes, Noah? Shh. Yep, who goes? How many years is a member of the House of Representatives elected for? Correct, 2. Mike, who goes next?
I did that, okay.
He's like, peace, man. Who goes next?
Jana.
Jana. All right, Jana. Which position in the United States government has a lifetime term? Supreme Court does, as well as federal judges. Very good. Jana, who goes? Ava. Oh, I didn't change that one. I need to do that. Ava, how many justices on the United States Supreme Court? 9. 6 have been appointed by Republican presidents. Yeah, they don't actually hold that designation, but that's a very good point. Who goes? Trey. Give me the number of the constitutional amendment that got rid of alcoholic beverages. Yeah, and then what got rid of that? Very good. Okay, who goes next? Vera, here's your question. Give me the name of the place in the United States of America that can participate in the presidential election, that cannot elect voting members to the Senate or the House. I'll give you a clue. It's a very important place. It's a very important city named after our first president. Washington, District of Columbia. Okay? All right, Vera, who goes next?
Oh, wait, that one's DC.
District of Columbia. Yes, it does. Who goes? Anna, here's your question. Give me the number of the amendment that says presidents can serve no more than 10 years in office, although that usually is a limit at 2 terms. 2-term amendment. What? The Second Amendment? 2-term amendments. 2 terms. 4th? No. Call somebody. 22nd. Yeah, because that one's going to be, it's not going to be, the original 10 are part of the Bill of Rights, and that happened like way back when, around the time of the Constitution, just after that. But yeah, this one comes in like after Roosevelt serves as president. Anna, who goes? Jana, which of these has the power, if either, the states or the national government, to give noble titles? Correct. Jana, who goes next? Trey, which of these, the states or the national government, has the power to declare war on another country?
National government.
Correct. Trey, who goes? Michael, give me the name of that group of people that are appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate, and they are the top jobs in the administration. They can also, if need be, if the president goes, majority of them, along with the vice president, can invoke the 25th Amendment. The vice president becomes the acting president. What is the name of that group of people, the top secretaries of each of the different departments? It's also a place where you keep dishes. No. You can keep dishes in the house. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. You can call on somebody if you're not sure. This is kind of a particular term. You can call on somebody if you're not sure. Michael, look, there's hands. It's not the Senate or the House. And if you're not really sure, you can call in a cab. Call a cab. Michael, call somebody. It'll go a lot quicker.
Noah.
Cabinet. Yeah, cabinet. Okay? All right. Okay, Michael, who goes?
Oh, my.
Who?
I thought you said Michael again.
Who goes? Who goes? Call on somebody. Okay, Vera. Vera, give me the name of the person who becomes the acting president if the president is ruled to be disabled under the 25th Amendment. And who is that person right now? Very good. That's right, yeah. No. Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House. You had it right the first time. Kamala Harris. Okay, Vera, who goes? Okay, Noah. Give me the name of the place where tax bills have to start in Congress. That is the House of Representatives. Noah, who goes next? Ava. If a constitutional amendment wants to be approved, give me the whole formula. Yeah. What percentage of the House and the Senate? Very good. And then what of the states? Mm-hmm. Very good. Class is concluded. Did it? Zoom. We actually got through a fair number, so go through. I think you guys are in pretty good shape. Go through and make sure you know all of those things. Cover it real well.
Can we please watch Hamilton?
Who's the president that served the longest? Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Can we watch it on the last day of school at least?